just to share like how I am uncomfortably bullish at this point. I really am. I'm
Look
really,
at the man. Look at the man in his eyes.
I am really
He's fidgeting on the chair.
I really am. I'm coming back from Token and Breakpoint being like, these people online are so disconnected from reality because the loudest people on crypto Twitter are the traders, and they have been sitting in the midst of just choppiness for 6 months. And I am here. I'm in the trenches with 20,000 people who are building really cool shit. This episode is brought to you by Anoma, the universal intent machine introducing a new era of applications where you define the outcomes you want. To stay up to date with Anoma, you can follow them at x.com/Anoma or sign up for the newsletter at anoma.net. Special thanks to Anoma for sponsoring today's episode. Let's face it, building on crowded L1s or expensive L2s is just not going to unlock the next generation of applications. Supra Containers offers dedicated, customizable app spaces running on Supra's 500 KTPS layer 1 blockchain, giving you complete control over gas tokens and fees. Get notified when Supra Containers are ready for builders at supra.com/containers. Hey everyone, I'm excited to tell you about FBTC, an omni-chain Bitcoin asset being used throughout DeFi today. So far, it's accumulated about $157 million in TVL, making Bitcoin more accessible and useful. Be sure to check out Sparkle, the rewards program where you earn points just by holding FBTC. Get started at fbtc.com/ongoing-campaign. Sir.
Well, what happened? Now we're not in a room and I look like a midget. Now we're the same stature.
I actually gotta make my chair a little taller here.
You fucker.
There you go.
Oh, man, I'm fucking taller too. How
Oh
about
my gosh.
that? Okay.
Oh.
Who's tall now?
All right.
Sorry,
How's it good?
we
Good
supposed to curse?
IRL.
I love cursing, by the way. So like, if we I don't know if we get like a little rating on Spotify that's censored content, explicit content. You know that sticker in CDs? Yes, I'm showing my age. Like adult, like explicit content. That little black sticker on the bottom. Yeah.
Let's. I'm gonna pull up the comments. While I'm doing that, how's the trip? How's the trip? Yeah, how's the Breakpoint and Token, and what did you think of Singapore as it wrapped up?
Oh, amazing! I tweeted about this. Two of the kindest things people have ever done to me happened this week or that week. This guy Kai published here. Actually, I'll show it to you. I was gonna say I think my bookshelf might just collapse and stuff, but he gave me this book. He now open sourced it. But for anyone that's viewing this, it's like wrecked mistakes from the trenches. He went by 0x Chancellor. Now he's kind of still pseudo-anonymous. But anyways, he assembled this, and I think time is the best investment that anyone can give you. So he basically interviewed probably, I think it's like 50 of the most degen people in crypto and asked them, what are your top 3 mistakes? And then he assembled them, collect them, and then just created this book. And anyways, I had a really fantastic meeting with him in Singapore. He's based in, I guess I won't say, but yeah, we then he dedicated the book to me. This book, I mean, his
you got a book.
Like, yeah, I no one's ever done a book. Like, I guess I've made it in life. Jesus, it feels.
That's cool. What are the big mistakes? Have you read it yet?
No, I have. Yeah, of course, I read it while I was in Singapore and then on the flight back. He published a great thread on it, summarizing it. And by the way, people want access to the book. I didn't want to like force him to do it. I just sort of kept it. I didn't name names. And then he came out and said, yeah, I'll publish it. So he open sourced it. But it usually runs around common themes, leverage. Just don't play with leverage. It's a ticking bomb. Not forming your own thesis. Selling too early seems to be a common error, which I sort of don't think is that big of an error. It's just sort of like, again, error process or outcome. But process errors are definitely leverage. A couple of people obviously had hacks and, FTX, money in FTX. Sizing is a common mistake that a lot of people really point to. So Yeah, and then just listening to friends and like not doing their own research
Yeah.
seems to be a common denominator here.
All right. So give us your maybe tell us about how you're feeling about things. Market's ripping, right? So
Right.
Solana's up 9% in a week.
WIF is
BNB
back up
5%.
above
ETH is
WIF is now
6%.
back. Well, yeah, WIF is back above $2. Meme
Yeah, but
coins,
are you
Popcats ripping,
I'd
dogs
love
and
maybe
cats are
maybe
ripping.
let's start there. Where are you in terms of so yeah, WIF is up 22. But last you said on this podcast you were this was a couple months ago. You were thinking about trimming some meme coins. I'm not sure
Mhm.
what you did there. Where are you sitting in with these meme coins? Did you end up taking the money off the top? Did you
I
yeah,
did, I
where
did not off the top. I did take some size off. Um, I put it back on. I'm kind of in my private books, sort of fully allocated, so to speak. Um, I've said this in my panels that I token 2049. I generally think that the market's too focused on the election, and I think I am of the mind that it is important, but I think people are pricing it too conservatively, and so like very binary. It's either going to be really good or really bad, and I think the money's in the middle. And so I'm willing to. I was of the mind that I felt compelled to put on more risk.
mm,
Um, you're also seeing the central bank of China inject more liquidity into the system, and I think I've been observing China a lot. People should go listen to Joe McCann's interview in November of last year. He also references China and like the central bank and injection of liquidity. They're obviously having more systemically, like the U.S. Like it's an untenable situation. They have basically 2008 on their hands. They have like a bunch of like underperforming loans in the real estate sector. Everyone knows it. The question is like a lot of these like Chinese internet companies are trading at like distress levels, like sub 10 PE ratios. Like that's just bananas in my mind. It's like I look at that and the coupon that you can get in some of these like structured products, and to me, that's just a signal that the market is incredibly bearish on China. And I think you just get paid, whether it's crypto or in some of these other alternatives, so to speak, when people are just, as Howard Marks likes to describe, the pendulum swings to extremes. Crypto is very much like that. And yeah, I just think it's, uh, it's just topical, I think. I'm very encouraged by what I'm seeing, particularly coming out of Singapore. Like talking to founders that I'm an investor in or just not an investor in. A lot of energy in the Breakpoint conference, a lot of product shipping. I still need to catch up on a lot of the videos, but I've been very public. And I think you have too. I'm very bullish on certain categories that are going to, be pretty impactful to showcase people what crypto is all about.
like what?
Deepin,
T-bit?
deepin.
Oh, deep in.
You cannot argue reasonably with a person if you tell them, would you switch your mobile operator if you can say 50% and it's the same plan or even better in terms of reliability,
Yeah.
same speed. Like, you know what I mean? We've never had that. We've never had that clear, coherent, no-brainer argument for crypto.
So what is the if you are listening to this and you say, "Oh man, okay, Santi, I know he said think for yourself, but I don't want to think for myself. I just want to follow Santi into these trades." How do you put on a deep in position?
First of all,
I
you'd be
know he said
crazy.
the biggest mistake that people make is following other people in these trades, but I don't have
Thank you. Thank
yeah,
you for
yeah.
first of all, none of this is legal or any advice for that matter. I am highly unreliable, should not be trusted. I can change my mind on a whim. So, anyways, now that that's out of the way, here's how you should. No, I'm kidding. Uh, I mean, there's obviously my strategy.
Do you know why you can't listen to people, by the way, about what they you remember in actually I won't actually dox anyone. Well, you know, people change their minds all the
Yeah,
time
yeah,
and they
100%.
don't always announce it. So let's say you see on Twitter, or let's say you see on Twitter that someone sold a bunch of their WIF. Um, well, you might want to go home and sell a bunch of your WIF because you trust that person. But then the next day they changed their mind and they said, actually, I
Right.
just saw a bullish signal and I bought back my WIF.
Yeah.
But they never updated you on that. So now
Right.
you're caught and WIF
It's
is up
it's it's
20% and you're
it's selective announcement of and probably
yeah,
survivorship bias and a
yeah,
whole
yeah, yeah.
host of bias. Like, look, some of these traders like are LARPing and like if they're actually correct, they'd be like the best investors of all time, which they're not, because they're running like private paid groups like on Telegram. I'm like, there's a big disconnect here. I don't have a paid Telegram group, ladies and gentlemen. If you ever see one, it's a scam. And so, you know what I mean? Like these self-proclaimed like the best traders on crypto, like have these paid Telegram groups. I'm like, well, if you're really that profitable, like why do you need to like sustain yourself on paid Telegram groups? Nonetheless, I digress. DePIN, I express it through largely private investments. Um, the likes of Geo. Well, actually, GeoNet is token, has a token. But like, look, my investments, I guess I'll tell you, like Andrina, you're an investor in Andrina. It doesn't have a token, but that's one way to express it. I guess if you're like more practically speaking, for people that are investing in tokens, like you could look at, no surprise, Helium, very encouraging. The mobile carrier offloading is huge, I think. So that's something that I'm really tracking. Um, the other ones are like, you have High Mapper, I'm just listing like in no particular order, like just the largest deep in projects. You could buy a basket of those. I would caution and I would encourage people, like there are very meaningful differences amongst these, particularly the thing that I would focus on in terms of doing diligence. So I'll give, I guess this would be useful, is focus on like the token economics. For instance, I met a lot of projects that are like, hey, we've been able to, you know, we've been able to map like 50% of the roads in India. And you're like, wow, that's great. And they're like, so you basically penetrated 50% of the market and you've only generated less than $1 million in fees. So you're telling me the market opportunity is nothing. So I think that's a challenge in both the opportunity and deep end, that like not all models are going to really work. Not because, so like traditionally infrastructure has been very much like monopoly, regulated monopolies, or just artificial, like natural monopolies, in the sense that like they're very capital intensive. So like because of that, it's very concentrated. And so insofar as like deepen lowers that capex cost, allows small incumbents to like come in and disrupt the market. Again, doesn't necessarily mean that like the TAM is that the TAM may be very big, that like the total addressable market is saying, okay, like you can build a next cellular mobile, like a next like telecom in the US. Well, that's multi-billion dollars. But like the fallacy might be, how much does that actually translate into revenue? Because either the price comes down because you're undercutting, right? As a monopoly comes down, then you might not be able to charge as much. And so the revenue trend, I think the market's not dumb in the sense of like, there's a reason why a lot of these deep in projects don't trade at multi-billion dollar stuff. Right. And so it's either tokenomics are off or the monetization is unproven. Right. They might have been able to scale the supply really well, but the demand's not there. The users are not there. The usage is not there. Like, again, you could really incentivize people to get on the network and mine a particular token. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to stick around or they're going to use the product. So, Helium, for example, probably the most, I'm not actually an investor, but, probably the most interesting and project in terms of traction. They are trading at a $1.6 billion valuation. So, and then there's like vaporware that trades at 7 billion.
Yeah. Have you seen the metrics of Helium's metrics recently?
Like I'm mostly looking at the carrier offloading.
Fine. Yeah, the carrier data. Here, I just found this on Twitter. I don't know the source of this, but this is the chart I'm talking about. The chart looks something like this. I don't know if this is the exact right chart, but like, yeah, I mean, it is.
It's working.
Yeah,
Like,
it's working.
What a carrier would not offload traffic onto the Helium network if they didn't think it was reliable.
Right.
They wouldn't risk their core business, right? The TLDR in it is
115,000 signups.
Right.
Right. Offload 59, 50, 60 terabytes of data.
Right.
Offloaded,
Which has gone parabolic.
And 143,000 daily subscribers. So these are subscribers
from other
of other
carriers
carriers
that connect to Helium mobile hotspots.
Yeah.
The
Pretty crazy.
challenge, look, everyone should go read primer on this stuff. No one will, I guess. So the TLDR is networks rely on other networks to share coverage, right? If you're a subscriber to AT&T or Verizon, you might go to a particular region that AT&T itself doesn't have coverage, but then they rely on other networks to provide service. And they're always the challenge is always like the peak load balancing is like they need to have enough capacity for like peak usage and consumption, but of course not all the time you have that. And so that's why it becomes important to be able to offload some of that traffic. Subscribers, whether because they're in a particular region or just too much traffic and congestion, they're starting to use more so the Helium network to solve for that, and that's very encouraging.
Yeah.
So That obviously translates into, as you just brought this up, how much helium is being burned, right?
Hmm. How do you think about when you see metrics like this that are good, but the narrative around helium and the soft stuff around helium have been like soft in the past? How do you think about those two things?
I'm not an expert. We'd have to bring in maybe Kyle or someone who's very much into it, because I think again the nuance is like, okay, the tokenomics and the revenue, the monetization piece. I still haven't dug enough. As I said, I don't have a position, but I'm looking at this as a case study into um, just DePIN as a category.
Yeah.
But to me, it is. I would guess. So said differently, if you were to describe helium to someone, and you probably could tell them, "Hey, listen, it has all these usage and stats, and like, where do you think it would be trading on a fully diluted basis, over under?" By the way, high, like circulating to total token, like market cap is 1.2, fully diluted is 1.6. A lot of those tokens are already in circulation. So it's like 75% of those tokens are in circulation. So a lot of it's been vested and in the market. Um, I would probably guess that most people would estimate that it's over 1.6 billion
Mm.
and fully diluted. Right, right. Particularly if you kind of frame it in, I don't know, let's look at Ondo, for instance, flavor of the month, 8 billion,
Yeah.
which I'm bearish on, by the way, for a few reasons. Like, I just think treasuries become less and less interesting in a world where rates go down. So that
And there are
some
so many people offering treasuries into the on-chain market that it becomes a very commoditized thing.
that's a commoditization. The appeal of punting treasuries goes down as rates come down, and so I think the more interesting opportunity that I think the market's waking up to is, what are those? It's like money markets, right? The Aves of the world, the Caminos have been on a tear. Full disclosure, investor in both. Um, but I think there's a reason why that is, and I think the market's sort of waking up to that idea that like the higher yield opportunities and the ability to capture fees is going to go more towards less tokenization of treasuries and real estate and some of this stuff, more so money markets, right? That people are doing recursive leverage and spec, like, you know what I mean? Like that is where a lot of the fees, end up in a
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
higher risk environment, so to speak.
Yeah, this is pretty. By the way, rwa.xyz. I don't know if you've ever been to this site. It's a really good resource to look at all these treasuries.
Nice. So
This
who has the highest, for instance? It's
it
it's
is
BlackRock's, right? Biddle.
so Treasury product metrics. It's BIDL, which is BlackRock.
That's
Then
BlackRock.
FOBXX. I think that's Franklin Templeton, I would assume.
Oh, okay.
Here, we can look at it here. So top entities. Okay, so they break it down by protocols.
Ondo.
So Ondo's at 600 million, Securitize is at 500 million, Franklin
Mhm.
Templeton's at 400 million. That's their Benji product. Then there's a big drop off. It goes Hashnote, Open Eden, then Superstate's around 100 million. Then
Mhm.
it's a big drop off, right? Centrifuge, people will know that name, 35 million.
Mhm.
The issuers, if you flip over to this tab,
Right.
yeah,
BlackRock.
BlackRock is in the lead at 500 million.
Yeah.
This will get shaken up because there's a huge program. It's called Grand Prix. It's MakerDAO Grand Prix. It's $1
Mhm.
billion incentive program. They're basically
I see.
taking $1 billion of like unallocated, I think, USDC. Um,
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm botching this, but they're taking $1 billion of USDC and then allocating it to some of these people,
Yeah.
and buying treasuries with it to get the yield on it. So I think some will flow into. Got to
Mhm.
imagine Ondo,
Mhm.
Superstate, BlackRock,
Yeah.
folks like this.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Back to DePIN, like, I guess it would be interesting if we were to do a poll and be like, where do you think DePIN, this particular name, trades, knowing the backdrop of some of these metrics, actual
Yeah.
usage? Um, and I guess, yeah, I don't. I actually would invite listeners or someone that would like to come on the pod next week. Like, explain to me what has been challenged, or like, I'd like to have a debate of like the bull case and the bear case for Helium, as an example, or GeoNet. But let's talk Helium, because I think that's like the most important deep protocol right now, because it is just has the most amount of traction and visibility. Or
What?
I'm happy to construct
No, no,
bull and
no, no,
bear
no. Let's
cases
do
in my
that.
brain, and that I'm happy to like come prepared. I'm not as prepared next session.
Would you take the bull case or the bear case?
I could take both. I'm
Yeah.
gonna construct both arguments in my brain.
Who, by the way, switching gears a little, who won the debate with you and Avichal?
I actually think Avichal did a more was more articulate. He presented more facts, and I think he did a really good job. Um, I think he won actually. The polls say that I win, but of
I
course,
mean, you were at a Solana conference, so
I was at a Solana conference. We both had to
either
take
way,
both.
yeah,
We both had to take both sides of the argument. So
uh,
we just came at it from different perspectives. But I think you did a really good job.
nice. I have a, I have an investment I'd like to put in front of you.
Oh yes,
We
yes,
got the
absolutely.
poly market live.
Let's
Hoffman,
go.
Hoffman versus Warwick.
Yes,
We
I
got
actually caught up.
Kane
I
versus
caught up.
David.
I caught up with Kane on Singapore.
That dude is looking good these days. In terms of he's been bulking, he's been
Right.
training, he's ready for the fight.
I actually
He's sober too.
I've been trolling Kane. Like he was they did this Infinix event with Omega ETH,
I was
investor in
there.
both. I
Yeah,
know your art and Infinix. And they texted me before the event, like they had these F1 simulators. And like Kane was like,
yeah, yeah.
"Oh, Kane's talking shit." He's like, "I'll crush you, man. Let's put one Solana on the line." I'm like, "Fine." And he's like, I've been training, I'm like, Kane, not because you have a fancy car doesn't mean that you're gonna be good in the simulator. I'm like, you're training. He's like, you're training for running, you're training for karate, you're training for like simulators. Like, you're like a mile wide, an inch deep. And he's like, oh, you get all triggered by that. Funny thing is though, that in this event, they had these two simulators. I think Kane was like, yeah, okay, and then his other partner Igor was okay, and then Andre and Miguel from second lane, they're actually professional like Porsche, like
Really?
yeah, 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 I didn't know this. So they told me this when we were in F1, and of course they smoked everyone out of the water. They're like really good drivers, and so anyways, just as a
Mm.
reminder, anytime you talk shit, there's always a guy that's quiet in the background. He's just
There's
gonna
always
come
a
in and
guy.
just
Yeah,
sue
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
anyways, back to this. Who do you think wins?
Oh man,
Don't pull up the market. The market's
look at this.
inefficient, by the way.
Nah, you think the YouTube comments are good? Look at the look at the poll. Pretty sure David Hoffman's a proud drinker of Soylent. Oh, David's popping off. David goes, I eat more steak than you. Oh, this is funny. All right, so we are recording this Thursday afternoon. Hoffman is a 35% chance.
Okay,
So
ladies and gentlemen, there's less than $7,000 in this market, so I can go in here and punt the odds like
I think,
YOLO.
oh man, this is I think there's some money to be made in this market.
For sure. There's gross. For context, Kane box back in the day.
So if you put $1,000 on Kane right now, it's a 30% return. You put $1,000 on Hoffman, yeah, 65% return.
Oh, okay, yeah. The market's saying that. Sorry, I got this wrong. The market's saying that Kane.
No, the market's saying Kane
Wins.
will win.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
65,
Um,
35.
I actually think it's closer than that, 50-50.
I do 50. All right. Put your money. So then you should bet on Hoffman.
Look, no one. Listen, I'm not gonna make a prediction on this, but I mean, I sympathize. Kane's my friend, so I'll put money on. I'm not gonna bet against my friend. God damn it! I have a
Oh,
lot of flaws, but loyalty's not one of them.
yeah, true, true, true. So we had some regulatory stuff this week. So like regulatory policy, public sector. So Richie Torres had some epic comments. Maybe we could play that and listen to them out loud.
Yeah.
Nick wrote a great piece. Nick Carter wrote a great piece in Pirates Wire, which
For anyone that doesn't know, what's that?
Pirates Wire is an independent media company created by this guy Mike Solana. Really took off during COVID, as I think there were a lot of people fed up with
Censorship.
either government overreach, or maybe they're pro-libertarian, or they're fed up with the mask mandate, or they're fed up with lockdowns, or they're fed up with like the woke movement, or like it was all that kind of crowd, I would say, needed a place to consume information. And Mike Solana created Pirates Wire. I don't know when he created it, but I associate it with like coming up during COVID. And yeah, it's an independent media brand. So
Nice. So,
that's what
what
it
was
is.
the extent of his post?
Nick basically. So I've skimmed it ahead of this, but I need to. It's a long piece. I need to actually sit down and read it. The things that I wrote, like the bullets that I wrote down as I was like looking through it. So One is that Silvergate. So Nick's been writing about Operation Choke Point. Obviously, Choke Point 1.0 was Obama basically debanking a lot of the, like, I think it was marijuana companies, gun companies, things like that. Nick has been talking about 2.0, which is purposefully debanking a lot of the crypto companies. So when Nick wrote this piece, he said, look, I feel very vindicated. A lot of what I called out back in March when there was this banking crisis has actually come true. So reading through some of the bullets I wrote down. So Silvergate voluntarily liquidated in March 2023. It wasn't a forced liquidation. It was a voluntary liquidation where they were crushed by regulatory pressures. And one of the takeaways of this piece is that there was a bank run, but they actually survived the bank run. It was the regulatory pressure that forced them to liquidate. So that was one. Second is that the Federal Reserve allegedly imposed a secret 15% cap on crypto-related deposits, which killed Silvergate's business model. So the Fed, put this 15% arbitrary and secret cap on crypto-related deposits. Silvergate obviously has a lot of crypto deposits, so that really hurt their business. Nick called out Senator Warren's public letters, which kind of questioned Silvergate's practices. Said that her public letters questioning Silvergate's practices started to fuel the downfall. And then Nick calls into question a potential alliance between Warren and who's the short seller? Mark Cohodes, where they kind of like targeted Silvergate together. And Mark and
Mark
Cohodes.
is a notorious short seller. He was very much vocal on this for a while.
So I think what Nick calls out, and again, I have to like fully read the piece because this was just me skimming it, is that Cohodes was kind of fueling Warren with some pieces of information, and Warren would just publicly write out what this short seller was saying, and she'd kind of write it out in these public letters. And so Silvergate's collapse kind of then triggered this domino effect, which took down SVB and Signature. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in this piece. I mean, I'm not doing the piece justice. There's an amazing piece that Nick wrote. We'll link to it. And you should actually go read this full piece. It'll take you like 30 minutes or something, but it was a good one. So.
Well, I guess on this point, how do you think about all of that in the context of just the election? I want to touch briefly on that, just if you have any updated views based on where you sit and also based on your conversations with folks over the last couple of weeks.
Well, so Kamala came out and had these two pro crypto statements this week, which were what I would call the minimum viable positive crypto statements that she could make. There was like I'll just candidly, the lamest. It was better than not saying anything. So where she's been right now. So here's my summary of this. Everyone didn't like Biden because Biden was kind of in cahoots with Warren and Gensler and hadn't really done anything to help the crypto industry. Then obviously there's the hot swap and Kamala gets put in place, and the whole industry I think was kind of anxiously awaiting maybe a pro crypto Democrat in Kamala. And it's been disappointing the last month or two because she hasn't said anything. She's been very quiet and hasn't really laid out her policies. Now, it's not like she hasn't laid out her policies on crypto, but she's laid out her policies on a lot of other things. She hasn't really laid out any policies on anything, right? I was with a healthcare executive earlier in the week, and he's like, yeah, we haven't heard anything about healthcare. We have no idea how she thinks about healthcare. And it was, same as crypto. So this week she spoke at a thing on Wall Street and made one statement about being, I think, pro crypto or something like that. Then yesterday she came out, and I will share.
I added
Manufacturing and aerospace remain dominant in AI and quantum computing, blockchain, and other emerging technologies.
So what she said was, we will remain dominant in AI, quantum computing, blockchain, and other emerging technologies. So you've got a couple of people on crypto Twitter. I think it was Hayden Adams. David said, this is the pivot. Kamala's officially pro crypto. I don't think that is the case. I'm waiting for. I think to be pro crypto after so many years of being anti crypto, you need a much stronger. You can't just throw First off, what is this word blockchain? You can't just throw blockchain in with quantum computing and AI. You have to.
I need to hear. I want to launch a token on pump.fun to be convinced.
Yeah, I need Kamala.
You have one.
Token.
Let's respect the posers, ladies and gentlemen. You have one political candidate who wants to launch a token. The other one continues to use this blockchain terminology. That's it. I think just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. I'm so turned off by the word blockchain, by the way. I think it's from the blockchain, not Bitcoin era.
Yeah. Blockchain, not crypto.
Yeah, exactly. So,
I mean, listen, politicians will say not do anything to get elected. So, whatever. But I would like on this point, the odds have been all over the place. I think Kamala has been ripping, actually 55-45 now, as of late. So take that for what it is. Also, the crypto pack has been donating a lot to Kamala as well.
Oh, I didn't know that. I believe so. Yeah.
Anyways.
Really? Where did you see that?
I may have heard it, but I haven't. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. So anyways, so that happened this week. I think people are, it's just a little behind the scenes. Like we've reached out. So at Permissionless, we have several congressmen and senators coming to speak. And we've just had a lot of political interest in the conference just because it's it's a month out from the election. We have sent an equal number of invites to both Republicans and Democrats. We actually would like to make this more of a bipartisan conference instead of a partisan conference, even though I know a lot of people in the industry vehemently disagree with me on that. That's just the decision that we've made. We'd like to make it more of a bipartisan conference. There have been several conservatives, Republicans, right, who have accepted our invitation. Mike Lee, senator from Utah, is coming. John Curtis, the most likely incoming senator from Utah, who's replacing Mitt Romney, is coming. Tom Emmer is coming. Right, there's several Republicans who have accepted.
Tom Emmer's behind the stablecoin bill.
Yeah, I think so.
He usually comes.
He's great.
One that is great clips about him interviewing.
He's great. Yeah. There's only one Democrat who's accepted our invitation. I've emailed the number of people who we've spoken with, we've had calls with, senators, congressmen. Only one person has accepted our invite, so it was pretty disappointing. Yeah. And that's Richie Torres, by the way, who
did a fantastic. If we go listen to that clip,
let's play.
Basically, corners Gensler. He says, "Hey, is a New York Yankees ticket of security?" And he's like, "No," and then he's like, "Okay, well, how is that any different from some of these NFTs, right?"
Right. So there it is. Can you hear that?
Yeah. Beautiful. Play it.
Mr. Gensler, suppose I were to sell you a Yankee ticket and tell you that the Yankee ticket could appreciate in value and could be resold at a profit in the secondary market. And as is the case with all sports tickets, suppose the proceeds from the sale of the Yankee ticket goes toward paying for the Yankee game. By selling you the Yankee ticket, am I entering into an investment contract with you and therefore conducting an unregistered security offering?
I appreciate the question. I don't know all the facts and circumstances, but I don't think so. I know where we're headed here, Representative, but I don't think so in that Yankee.
So a Yankee ticket is not, and why is a Yankee ticket not a security?
Well, it's really a question, and the courts have been clear on this, is the offer and sale.
Specifically with a Yankee ticket, though, when you're buying a Yankee ticket, what are you purchasing?
You're buying
access to a Yankee game. Is that fair to say?
I understand. It's been a while since I went to a Yankee game, but
you're welcome to a Yankee game.
I used to live in New York, and my three daughters were all born in New York.
So in the Stoner Cats case, the creators were selling an NFT that offered access to an animated web series. From the standpoint of federal securities law, is there a legal difference between buying a Yankee ticket that offers you the experience of a Yankee game and buying an NFT that offers you the experience of an animated web series?
Again, I don't want to comment on any one specific
Well, it was a settlement. It's a fait accompli.
but-
It's not an ongoing litigation. You can comment on it.
But it's about how is something offered and sold. Is it offered and sold as an investment contract? Are individuals looking to a common enterprise anticipating profits based on the
Well,
efforts?
I'm familiar with the definition. You're avoiding the question. Thank you.
Oh, got him. Oh, you're muted.
That was good. Yeah,
Got
you know,
it.
it's
So yeah,
it's-
just
it's-
yeah. Go ahead.
oh, that was good. This is what I mean by I'm not as a lot of the discussions that I had in the last couple of weeks have been around, asking a fund manager or just people, hey, how do you think about the election risk? And I just think that a lot of people are giving it too much weight in their decisions. And while it may be true that in the near term, there may be some dislocation to the order of 10, 20% plus minus, like in either direction, I just think that I can't be but excited about that. Both the short-term mindset of a lot of allocators, on one end, like people are only talking about the election and the particular movement that might have, like 10, 20%. And an asset class that I'm underwriting 10x is nothing. You know what I mean? Like there's a disconnect there that I think this is why I'm excited in this asset class, because there is that time preference and too much weight on near-term things that don't factor into my thinking as much when I'm focused on the long-term and the compounding effects of like, this is either going to be a 0 most likely, or like 10, like very asymmetric outcome. And so I pay attention to these opportunities because I see them as an opportunity in the sense that most people are distracted in many ways, right? And you're looking at all the breakpoint videos and all the traction and token, and then you're seeing this amount of like too much nearsightedness, combined with like this encouragement of like on both sides of the aisle, it's become more and more clear that there needs to be rulemaking, there needs to be policy, and most court cases are not being won. Like are actually by the 3 later agencies. They're being won by crypto projects. At fair point,
Right.
You need to be well capitalized. You need the resources to fight it, but crypto continues to raise money to fight it off as a lobby, as an industry. We've become better at that coordination. So even if you're not Ripple or Coinbase, that you don't, of course it helps to have these coffers to like, pay the legal bills. But this is what I mean by I'm not as concerned about the election. And I just think that it's certainly important, but it's not. I think it's going to be a divided house. And so the worst case is we don't get enough policies via stablecoin bill or some other sensible regulation in the next 4 years. That to me is probably like I'm just kind of underrating that.
Yeah. Hey everyone, Jason here. I wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind a lot recently, and that is, where are all of crypto's killer apps? We often ask this question on this show, so I'm excited to tell you about Empire's latest partner, Anoma, the universal intent machine. Intents are a new way to build dApps, enabling users to say what they want without needing to specify how it's done. Let's say you have an NFT on one chain, but you want to swap it for a token on another chain. To make things even worse, you also don't know which bridge to trust or how to navigate different dexes on each chain. Disaster, right? But here's the good news. Thanks to Intents, you can just tell the app what you want to do, and Anoma's solver network takes care of all the complexity in the background. We're excited to see what cool dApps Anoma's architecture will unlock. To stay up to date with Anoma, you can follow them at x.com/Anoma or sign up for the newsletter at anoma.net. Special thanks to Anoma for sponsoring today's episode. Let's face it, building on crowded L1s or expensive L2s is just not going to unlock the next generation of applications in crypto. That's where super containers come in, offering a completely new solution that transforms your development control. Imagine dedicated, customizable app spaces running on Supra's 500 KTPS Layer 1 blockchain. You get complete control over gas tokens and fees with the freedom to use your own token, create local fee markets, or even go gasless. Scale on demand and build with better customization than app chains, all at a fraction of the cost. Plus, with multi-VM compatibility, you can easily deploy your EVM, Move, and SVM smart contracts. It's time to rescue your projects from the costs, complexities, and fragmentation of traditional solutions. Get notified when super containers are ready for builders at super.com/containers. Hey everyone, I'm excited to tell you about FBTC, an omni-chain Bitcoin asset being used throughout DeFi today. It launched back in July, and since then, it's accumulated about $157 million in total value locked. FBTC aims to make Bitcoin more accessible and useful in various DeFi applications. Currently, you can use FBTC on both the Ethereum and Mantle networks. FBTC is highly composable, interoperable, and secure with over 27 starting partners. If you're ready to get started, check out the rewards program Sparkle. Designed to reward users, eligible FBTC positions will now accrue Sparks. They're also offering additional rewards like a token airdrop from a project called Babylon and a new token from Mantle called COOK. Get started at fbtc.com/ongoing-campaign. Huge thanks to Mantle for sponsoring today's episode. Dude, I'm with you. I actually was gonna tweet this, and then I was like, I'm not sure I'm supposed to tweet things like this, but like it is. I think people are so uncomfortably offsides right now because they've gotten so caught in this like consolidated period of like 6 months of choppiness that they forget what could be coming, I would say.
Or
And
update
I'm
their
like,
priors, right? It's like you should be updating your thesis
just to share like how
immediately.
I am uncomfortably bullish at this point. I really am. I'm
Look
really,
at the man. Look at the man in his eyes.
I am really
He's fidgeting on the chair.
I really am. I'm coming back from Token and Breakpoint being like, these people online are so disconnected from reality because the loudest people on crypto Twitter are the traders, and they have been sitting in the midst of just choppiness for 6 months. And I am here. I'm in the trenches with 20,000 people who are building really cool shit. Yeah, that is the traders. No, that cover picture. That cover picture are the people on crypto Twitter. And you
Jaded.
smile on your face is me because I am just excited.
By the way, like I was just gonna say, this guy, the way that he knew that my favorite to put in the forward, like my favorite excerpt of a speech from Teddy Roosevelt. He's like, the book is dedicated to me. And he starts off by saying, the credit belongs to the man. It says, scratches a man, says Santi, who is actually in the trenches.
In the arena. Yeah, in the arena.
I'm going to get roasted for this.
That's amazing.
But it's amazing that he knew that.
I mean,
yeah,
you said it at the beginning. Okay, China is doing massive
liquidity,
both monetary and fiscal stimulus. We are cutting rates, and we're about to have a decision on the election where I don't think it necessarily even matters who's going to be elected. It's just the market hates the uncertainty of not having someone elected. It's like, come on, guys, like be a little more like, just look 2 months out. You don't even have to look a year out. Like just look 2 months out. So
yeah, it's we're going to see a relief, and most of the times it's like, do you see it up or down? Doesn't really matter. The long-term trajectory, you all see the chart, right? It's noisy, but I just, I can't help but be encouraged by a lot of the traction. And
yeah,
I continue to believe we're entering a consumer application phase of this industry. You're seeing it in different pockets. It's real. And a lot of times it's sometimes very important to re-underwrite your thesis. And I appreciate some of these things might have been tried in 2014, 2016, 2018, 2020, 2022. The space is moving fast.
yeah.
And I think you need to be constantly on top of it. And traders can make a lot of money. I guess the difference is know the game you're playing. Either you're a trader or an investor, but like if you're going to be investing, you should, and you're underwriting the type of return that probably you're requiring to take this amount of risk, you should be paying a lot of attention, but you should be actually paying attention in the right areas. Meaning go look at all the goddamn breakpoint videos and less lines on a chart. Go understand what's happening in China. That matters. Liquidity injection matters. Like the market, like China internet's like rally. Like look at Baba. Baba has gone from $70, $60 to plus 100 in like matter of in this week.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
Yeah. We released a good Solana dashboard. Have you seen this thing?
I saw that. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
So we actually made it free. So big shout out to the.
Were you at Breakpoint?
Yeah, I went for like a day.
Nice. What did you think of it?
It was a pretty incredible event. I mean, from an event organizer perspective, it was like one of the best organized events I've ever been to. And then I just loved the focus on, like, I would say front end products instead of infrastructure. Obviously they don't have to focus on infrastructure because they are the infrastructure. So it's I mean, I think
Breakpoint. You had a fire dance announcement, but that was
fire dance. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I thought it was an amazing event. Actually, one of the best crypto events I've ever been to. I thought the like sponsorship activations were good too, like John Boat's pull up bar,
which I got roasted on.
Wormhole. We can talk about that later. But Wormhole had the like bridge from like one place to another. I thought it was a great event. I mean,
I thought it was the best crypto conference I've been. Full stop.
The debates were great. We're gonna take a lot of, like, every time I go to these conferences, I just take inspiration for how to make our events better. And sometimes I go to these and I'm like, you know what, there's really not much here I'm going to take inspiration from. But Breakpoint's one of those events where I'm like, they did the little things right.
They didn't give me any reason to leave. They had good beverages, good coffee. The speaker lounge was well situated where I could, I had all my meetings there. It was incredibly productive. It was just flawless in my mind. It was really good. Most of the conferences have crappy food and just give me good coffee and variations of coffee that I want to have, and don't give me a reason to leave. You know what I mean? Like, it was just good. It was very good.
So we're thinking about this from a conference organizer's perspective. The industry is about to have what happened in SaaS, where there used to be these big SaaS events. And then you started seeing all the big SaaS companies, Salesforce, HubSpot, et cetera, Twilio, create their own conferences.
Right.
And so Avalanche has something in like 2 weeks in Argentina. Solana has had Breakpoint. You're going to start seeing more and more of these.
You have side events like Monad's probably going to do one in New York, I heard.
Monad's doing one, I think, next week, actually.
No, but they're going to have a more developer, like a DevCon of sorts. Basically, what you're saying is everyone will have a DevCon of their own.
Yeah, well, I'm not like Breakpoint wasn't really DevCon. It was their own unique flavor on what a good conference should
be. But that's DevCon, right, for Ethereum. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You have these ECC events and ETH Global events.
So what are you as an attendee more likely to attend? Like, I guess because you like Solana, so you'd attend that, but maybe you're not going to attend another ecosystem.
No, I've attended the Avalanche one. I attended the Aptos one in Korea. I'm likely attending one in Amsterdam, but it's more for allocators. Legend for Legends.
For Legends?
Legend for Legends, yeah. Oh. And you have DAS. I mean, I think
is that the name of the event? Legend for Legends.
I'd like to, from time to time, just check into these events to get a feeling for different. Like, I think there's value in going to a developer-centric conference to get an understanding of the developer community. There's value in, going to a more generalized conference like Token2049. I'm like just amazed and surprised of just how big this industry is. As we covered in the last weekly roundup, like, just felt like Dreamforce. Just really gives you an understanding of like the entire apparatus of crypto, like sales and marketing teams closing business deals, and just felt very different vibe and environment, which is good to see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll probably I'll do a sample size, right? Probably always go to Breakpoint. I'm not going to DevCon this year. Just, I'm like, Thailand sounds cool, but I'm just a bit over travel.
So we just launched, we just announced, I know we have permissionless coming up in 2 weeks, actually, which, by the way, we just had our 2 biggest ticket sale days ever. So we're probably going to increase the price. So go get your ticket. There's a code, Empire. I actually don't know what we're doing anymore. Empire 10 or 20 or 30. Just start typing Empire.
And you guess the discount is... Yeah. Start from 50.
There could be an Empire 90. Who knows? Yeah, I don't know.
Damn. Am I gonna get a free ticket?
Not this year.
I actually bought a ticket for Breakpoint because I didn't know if I was gonna speak or not. I bought it like way back, And then of course I got a free ticket as a speaker. Anyways, I was like prepping for the debate, and this guy's like, oh, I think someone from Coinbase was like, we need to get someone in. I'm like, well, there's no more tickets. I'm like, hey, well, here's my QR code. So and the bet that I told this individual was like, as long as Coinbase Prime supports withdrawals USDC and Solana, god damn it,
I will. Yeah.
like this is
I
the
will.
condition. So hey, by the way, Brian or whoever, like if you listen to this, I fronted a ticket to one of your guys. So support USDC on Solana, please.
I ran into all those guys at the F1.
For
By the
Coinbase
way,
Prime.
how's your F1 experience?
That was good. It was really good. Shout out. I mean, I went with the second lane guys. It was. I mean, I bumped into you. It's great. I mean, the circuit is really special. It's like Monaco, but something about the night makes it like.
I like the night ride. Yeah, it was the first time I'd ever been to F1. It's cool.
To be fair, it's not a very good spectator sport when you think about it. Like I
No, you just
appreciate
go
the allure,
and then you wait like
it's
10 minutes, and then they come
It's like
around.
a fly in your eye, in your ear, like it's annoying. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah, but it was fun. We were in
Yeah.
so I was in the McLaren paddock thing, and Lando obviously won. So that was a cool. That was a cooler experience than actually seeing the cars fly by.
Yeah. But it's most people are watching TV, or you want to be listening to the commentator. So
Yeah.
it's actually, I'm surprised of like product market fit here. Of like I've been in many races, different circuits. It's not a really cool spectator sport. Most people go because of the allure of like, oh, it's like these like Greek gods go into these $100 million cars, and like they're just living the fast life, and it's like so
It is.
disconnected from reality that
It is.
it's
Yeah.
there's this phenomenon of like if it's somewhat like attainable, it generates envy and frustration. So like imagine, so Yano, maybe your childhood friends, they see that they grew up with you, and so there's an element of related, like you can relate to that. And so if a lot of times most of the envy comes from people in your inner circle. You're like, oh wow, this guy, like Johnny killed it. But you remember Johnny? Stupid. Like we're like, grew up together, in the same school. How this, and because it's so like close to you. But these guys, like these Formula drivers, are like on a whole new dimension. They're like Greek gods. They're like, oh my god, like they're like they're dating models, and like they're going from country to country racing. Like they're just like the modern day gladiators. And like something about that, like people love, and especially obviously the Netflix series.
The Netflix series also.
But even before then, it's like not a very fun sport.
Yeah.
And by the way, like I've met a lot of drivers here that are like, yeah, I think that it's less like necessarily skill to be in the driver's seat. A lot of the decision comes down to less so skill, more so how marketable a driver is. So there's a reason why you have now a Japanese, a Chinese, and an American driver in the paddock. As soon as Liberty Media bought it, like they made that transition. They added more races in these places, huge markets. Like certain drivers like Checo are very marketable. Like the Mexican.
You go to Mexico City,
Checo is more popular than the president.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, the president's not very popular. But anyways, yeah,
Checo's got to be like the most paid guy on that.
No, he's not. No, not at all. But he's very lucrative for Red Bull, like extremely lucrative. He's like
okay, yeah, not him personally, but the amount of money that he brings.
No, he brings. Yeah, I mean, like exactly, like the amount of merch and viewership that it attains. It's crazy. So, like, I met, for instance, the Formula E. He's a really good Formula E driver, and he's like, yeah, I was racing with Lando and Max and these drivers, like, and George, like a lot of times I won the race. Like it was competitive. I was like, so why are you not in the paddock? He's like, I don't know. I didn't have $20-30 million to like buy a seat. I'm like, oh, okay. So you have to, I mean, there's only what, 12 cars in the paddock? 18?
20,
no, more than 12, 20, yeah. It was like very competed, but it comes down to a lot of it just, well, that's why I like Lewis, because like Hamilton, because like the guy, like most of these come from like pretty affluent families. Like,
so you see a lot, or actually we can skip that. Actually, there is one non-crypto thing I want to get your take on, which is I don't know if we can cut this part if you don't want to talk about it, but I am curious, like you just went to this event with non-crypto people, some like investors and stuff. And I'm just curious, like their view on the markets and I don't know if you talk crypto with them at all, and they're very wealthy people. And like, just, I know you're
I guess I went to a family office event here. It was hosted by Apollo. No, crypto doesn't come in the conversation. Everyone seems to agree the market's really expensive. We're hitting all-time highs. And they get nervous about that. And so the theme of the conversation was you should, like, as a family office, you have more flexibility to think longer term. And so, you should be investing more in the private market. So obviously you can get that pitch, right, from someone that their business is private markets. But I think I related to crypto because, again, I think I've always gotten more clarity when I know what my long-term, like, investment, like, the longer you have, the longer time horizon you have on these things, I think it just minimizes a lot of noise. And you start saying, okay, if this business is spitting out 16% cash flow, then it's a good solid business. I'm willing to put it in, set it and forget it. Like, again, I've been listening to Founders podcast too. I think it's great because the common theme is like businesses that control their costs survive, like Costco, Amazon. Like, these businesses are ruthless in terms of managing costs. And so I don't know, it's just really good. I've been hearing, you hear certain, like, core themes come up over and over again across different investors, different, people in different industries, from metals and mining to technology to crypto. It's like the theme is pretty much the same. But I don't know if any of that makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of things that we talked about, but it was just, yeah, it never, there's like simple things, right? Like, for instance, like, uh, private equity as an asset class is challenged. Like, financial engineering doesn't work when you can't settle a company with debt, when that debt and cost to service that debt goes up 3x. We're not going to a record low interest rate environment again. So you have to update. Is that going to be a really viable business model? Well, no, right? So who can win? It's like, if you need to buy a good asset, right, at a good price. If you've overpaid, like, I guess concretely, there's going to probably be a lost vintage of funds that, like, are not going to make any money on their investments. Like, if you invested in SaaS, like, took a company private, or bought it out in the private markets, and you paid a crazy multiple,
Yeah.
and you were just betting on that multiple to stay the same and just, like, delever and, like, build equity value.
And some of these late stage crypto companies got they're valued at 100x revenue, right? Fireblocks,
Yeah.
Chainalysis, like, and
Yeah.
they're great businesses, by the way. Great. Dude, Fireblocks going to do like 100 to 120 million ARR. Chainalysis,
Yeah. Again,
150
what is the
million
price
ARR.
then? But you paid 10, 15, 20 times forward. Like, you are,
Right.
good luck trying to get that multiple in the public markets.
Right.
So none of these companies are going to be taken public. Yeah, you're going to try to refinance that debt? Hey, different rate. But I think a lot of times, like, you can make money in any market condition. In any market environment, there's always pockets that are overlooked. And you could say that about crypto is like a arb on, like, institutions not being able to allocate to the asset class since forever, and now until recently. You can think about meme coins as levered bets on these ecosystems, and so most ones aren't going to touch them. So there's, like, these structural arbs that arise in any market condition. Right now, most money is being invested into basically levered Nvidia, right? Like, you're buying the index, it's passive. So active management actually becomes more interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just common. Like, nothing will replace doing their own work. Like, go do your own work. Like, I don't know. It's just like, no, or pay someone decent amount of money to do work for you. Like, this is why I invested in certain
Did you hire
funds.
your analysts?
I'm working through it. Like, I'm
Yeah.
structurally. I also want to do a private equity fund, but that's a topic for a separate conversation.
Breaking.
I tweeted about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the last 3 weeks have been useful to solidify.
Did people like the idea when you ran it by them in Asia?
Yeah. The simple description, which I think great ideas or decent ideas can be crystallized in 1 or 2 sentences, is I want to do business model transformations with crypto elements. Doesn't mean it's going to have a token. I just generally think there's an incredible amount of opportunity to streamline friction points in different business models with crypto elements. And I'm focusing on the cost side of the equation because I know the option value. You can drive the top line, but that's the easy part. If I can get comfortable buying a business and underwriting a great return above my hurdle, by streamlining friction points and costs. As an example, failed checkout, massive market. I mean, massive problem, billions of dollars like at stake. I think something like 20 to 30% of all retention, like churn in some of these businesses happens because failed checkout or failed like renewal. Think about that for a second.
I know.
That does not
But
happen in
Audion,
Europe.
I mean, that's like what
Even with
Odd
Stripe.
Stripe, like that's
Yeah,
their
yeah, like streamline, but it's still an issue.
yeah.
Uh, so optimizing on that, like CAC, you can grow LTV. You can like, LVMH has been experimenting with this, but like instead of trying to convince businesses to adopt crypto, I'm just going to go knock on the door and buy them. Solid businesses and just transform it with crypto elements. And so the playbook is depends for the sectors that I'm focused on is consumer retail. So I've identified.
Oh,
3
I
or
thought
4.
you were saying you were trying to solve the failed
No,
checkout. I get
no.
it. You're
That's just
saying
one
I
example.
get it. Yeah.
So if your churn rate
You
is
move
10%,
companies onto crypto
yeah, if
rails.
10%, exactly. If 10%, the customer doesn't even know, or
You're
maybe
you're pulling the revenue immediately up 10%.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. That is a massive unlock of
I
value.
had a buddy who bought SaaS businesses, and the only thing he would do, I mean, he did other things, but like the main thing he would do, he would just double the prices. Just
As an
double the
example,
prices. Yeah.
loyalty programs,
Yeah.
token gatekeeping,
Yeah.
increasing LTV. Again, I'm not. That's the easiest part. Look at LVMH and what they've done with NFT pendants,
Yeah.
digital twins. You know what I mean? Like there's a
How-
couple of like core bets that I'm willing to make. Like the amount of digital purchases will not only go up to par with physical goods, but eclipse that because your
Yeah.
digital presence and identity is far more visible and important than as we consume and spend more time online. And your digital closet is fucking empty. Why is it the brands are not offering you a QR code to
Yeah.
basically have a digital twin? It's like obvious.
Yeah.
And so you go in and you do that.
Yeah. Why don't we close that conversation, because I know there's a lot more there, and then we can do an entire episode on the
Yeah.
vision for what you're building.
This is not an offer or solicitation, by the way. I'm just fleshing out my ideas. But the simple thesis is everyone's focused on exporting crypto inside out. And I think that no one is doing this. And the opportunity is vast. I'm looking to buy. I mean, you can go and acquire large businesses and transform them. Crypto is just an operating standard.
How much do you think you'll raise?
Oh, I know, probably zero. But I don't know. It just I will find out.
Yeah.
Fuck around, find out.
Fuck around and find out.
I'll be fucking around a lot.
All right. Good chat.
Good chat.
Cool. Thanks everyone for listening. We will see you next week. Thanks for watching today's episode. Just wanted to quickly mention that the wait for crypto's killer app wave is nearly over, thanks to today's sponsor, Anoma, the universal intent machine. To stay up to date with Anoma, you can follow them at x.com/Anoma or sign up for the newsletter at anoma.net. Thanks again to Anoma for sponsoring today's episode.